You know, because I respect you, I love you, I've said it in every interview, time and time again. And if that's not good enough with you, mama, then it's something deep-rooted in you. You need to get something is bothering you inside. That's your insecurity bothering you. It's not Nicki Minaj. It would have been any girl that started popping.
And I'ma just say it cause y'all won't. Nicki Minaj, now you need to shut the fuck up, girl. You are so fucking delusional.
Listen, Mizza, Les Miserables, bitch. But bitch, I don't know if you fat, obese, chubby, or skinny.
Nicki, Onika, you know better. You know better. Keep my bitch name out your mouth, girl.
Bullet fragment foot, bitch. Bullet fragment bitch. She a bullet fragment bitch. Now listen here, ho. You don't want your good foot.
We're gonna come together and we're gonna take a stand and we're gonna give people quality and great things and great experiences.
And he blackballed me for the rest of my career. And he then made me feel afraid to speak on it.
They're not like her. She wanted to be the only female out there. So when Baby and them said, we're not fucking with this chick because you can't stand next to her, she loved it. Because she didn't want to stand next to me. I think it's her. She wanted to be out there by herself.
Excuse me if at this point, when Nicki says, oh, I have receipts that all these people hate me and have been hating me all this time. Yeah, now I'm skeptical. Because historically, you say you have the receipts for certain things and then you don't show them. You just claim you have them and then hope that your most rabid fans are going to latch on to your claims and just accept them as truth because you said them.
Nicki ain't fighting the machine. She's mad that the new girls figured out how to drive it without kissing her ass first.
What I'm saying is it was you running shit for a long time. I never said that you're no longer running shit. I said that there are other females flourishing. What is the problem with that?
The hard way. You're going to have to learn the real world and the...
Well, I love you and I will, regardless, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to support you from the sidelines. I feel very, yes, from the sidelines because I can't do it publicly when someone is literally subtweeting me for no reason.
When she got with that man, she started acting like this. That man got that girl doing something strange for a piece of change, and I don't know. Like, y'all need to get my good sis help. Y'all need to stop worrying about who's the queen of rap and get this girl some help.
Petty was ordered to register as a sex offender after a 1994 incident where a 16-year-old girl reported that he raped her at knife point. As for Minaj, who married Petty in 2019, she has publicly defended him over the years.
I am not a clown. That's clown.
Because of her husband, girl, Nicki became so gang affiliated. When did you become so tough? And ever since you became so gangster tough, girl, you ain't been rapping the same. Can we talk? Ever since Nicki became this gangster, Nicki has not been able to rap and give the bars like she used to. She hasn't.
Do you believe wholeheartedly that JayZ your father?
I really do.
Meek Mill said it himself. Desiree helped me.
I don't think I've ever felt so alone and unseen and unheard in my whole entire life.
What you need to do is stop focusing on other people, focus on yourself, and focus on your craft because you're out here fucking up your legacy looking like a fucking hater.
Every time you in the news, it's because you getting at somebody. Where's your music? You know, put your music out, and when I see your name on Billboard, that's when I'll respond to you. Other than that, goodbye. It's Barbie, bitch.
Now, we all know who Nicki Minaj is. Nicki Minaj might be hip-hop's most favorite villain, combative, unapologetic, but impossible to ignore. But here's the truth that nobody wants to admit out loud. She might be a bully, but that doesn't mean that she's wrong. When Nicki Minaj called out Rock Nation, most people just rolled their eyes. They said that she was paranoid, that she was jealous of the new girls. But the deeper that you dig into how this industry actually operates, how Rock Nation in particular consolidates power behind the scenes, the more her so-called rants start sounding like revelations. This wasn't a messy feud, this was a warning. And like always, Nicki Minaj said the quiet part out loud. before anybody else had the guts to. Originally, I was ready to run with
Nicki Minaj is an industry bully, loud and delusional and angry at the mess it is that she's made.
a cautionary tale of power misused and bridges burnt. That's the story that they were selling us, and I was pretty much willing to buy it. But the deeper I dug, the more the mask started to slip. Nicki wasn't wrong. She was just screaming at a system that had been suffocating her for pretty much over a decade. She wasn't just losing her mind, because I can't rule that out. She was losing her patience. I mean, let's be clear, Nicki Minaj is one of the highest charting female rappers of all time. And yet she holds 0 Grammys. The most commercially successful female rapper ever has been locked out of an award that has been handed to less impactful artists with not even a fraction of her global success. That's not a snub. It's a block. A strategic freeze out by some of the most powerful people in the music industry. An institution that has always rewarded the obedient, but then punished the unmanageable. And Nicki Minaj, girl, she has never been manageable. So when Rock Nation's Tidal came knocking, a platform that claimed to fight against exploitative algorithms within streaming, Nicki jumped at the opportunity. And I mean, who wouldn't? She wasn't just investing in a platform, she was securing her legacy. They offered her equity, ownership, and a seat at the table. The promise that her streaming revenue, her influence, her platform, and her name would fully be protected and respected. And Rock Nation promised to do what the music industry couldn't: honor her contribution. Spoiler alert, they didn't. So when JayZ, the founder of Tidal and the architect of its artist-first branding, sold 80% of the company's shares to Jack Dorsey for a reported $295 million, Nicki Minaj felt like she'd been sold out. And unlike the rest of the artist shareholders who sat in silence and cashed their checks in return for complicity, Nicki was one of the only artists who were bold enough to say it out loud, even if she never actually sued. She didn't just invest in Tidal, she believed in it. So when Tidal's promises were cashed in like a business asset, she was furious. And rightfully so. Now, Nicki claims that she is owed over $200 million by Tidal, which obviously raised quite a lot of eyebrows, considering they only sold for a reported $295 million. And no matter how much it is that Nicki Minaj screamed this information into the ether, her voice was met with silence and dismissal. It was pretty much just written off as another one of her online tantrums. And that silence, unfortunately, made her go into war mode. What followed was an extremely meticulous and very calculated set of online rants, unraveling everything that is connected to Rock Nation, Tidal, JayZ, Desiree Perez, and anything in that surrounding area. She clashed publicly with Megan Thee Stallion, one of Rock Nation's managed artists, in a feud that felt personal but really reads as proxy warfare. She threw support behind Ramir Satterthwaite, I think that's how you pronounce his name, a man who alleges that he is the biological son of JayZ from a relationship JayZ had with his mother, who was allegedly at the time a minor. A paternity test with staggering implications if true. She backed Damore Hadley, who filed a lawsuit implicating her own mother, who is Desiree Perez, the current and present CEO of Rock Nation, in alleged misconduct. Every shot fired, every allegation made pointed in one direction: JayZ, a man who she once idolized, a man who inspired her magnum opus, The Pink Print, which is derivative of JayZ's album, chart-breaking album by that similar name, The Blueprint. a man who she trusted with her legacy, who only then went on to flip it for a return in the boardroom. And let's not forget Lil Wayne, who actually discovered Nicki Minaj, who is the founder of Young Money Cash Money Records, sold her catalog alongside Drake and Tyga's catalog for a measly $100 million. A number that barely scratches the surface of all of their collective worth. Artists who were essentially Young Money's golden era in the 2010s. In every direction that Nicki Minaj turned, somebody is that she trusted sold her out. So she's not just mad, she feels betrayed. And she is burning down the house to prove it. And now, after years of being played, manipulated, and commodified by the music industry, Nicki Minaj's multi-week rants have fallen on deaf ears. To many outsiders, it was just noise from a woman who was clearly unraveling.
She's throwing stones from a glass house,
many people said, pointing to the ongoing lawsuit of her husband, Kenneth Petty, who was accused by a woman called Jennifer Huff of sexually assaulting her back in 1994. And with a likely settlement in the horizon, many people started believing that this was all just a distraction from what was really coming their way. The general public felt as if she was picking fights in order to cause a diversion. Or maybe that she was just trying to hijack the timeline during a period of time where her arch nemesis, Cardi B, was about to release her sophomore album, her long-awaited sophomore album. The general public was saying that she's manic, she's spiraling. And even her fans began to ask, if Rock Nation owes you over $200 million, why are you coming to the internet instead of going straight to the court? Why hasn't she dragged them into a lawsuit demanding what is rightfully hers? And why is she using Twitter, Instagram, Stationhead, and a rabidly loyal fan base, the Barbs, as her courtroom? Why on earth was she beating with SZA? Why was she name-dropping Top Dog Entertainment? And why does it feel like everybody's just catching strays? Is this just a power trip? Or is she just walking straight into the crazy celebrity narrative? The same fate that swallowed up every single other whistleblower who dared to call out the music industry for what it truly is. Or, and here's the most uncomfortable possibility, is Nicki Minaj simply just a woman with nothing left to lose? Because everything it is that she has built has been stripped away from her in real time. I know, this is a long ass intro and extremely complicated, but honestly this story has so many twists and turns and it is incredibly messy. But I am here to clarify this for you, and this is why it's taken me quite some fucking time to put this shit together, because it all led me coming back to one particular question. Why is it always Nicki Minaj versus the world?
I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen. I met her in the studio lobby, but her booty looked bigger in the magazines. She said, baby, will you jump on this song of mine? How could I resist when I heard little Nicki rhyme?
Now, in order to see where this whole situation fell apart, we have to go back to the 2012 Grammys. In 2012, Nicki Minaj was invited to perform at the Grammys. And ahead of her Grammy performance, Nicki Minaj was doing a lot of promo for them, using her influence and her fandom to promote the Recording Academy.
I'm LL Cool J, and on February 12th, I'll be hosting the Grammys along with artists like Nicki Minaj, who I love.
You know, this is really exciting for me because, like, I've been listening to you since I was a baby.
I love you less now.
She had released her first studio album, Pink Friday, in 2010 and was getting set to release her sophomore album, Pink Friday Reloaded, in April 2012, with the introduction of her new persona, Roman Zolanski. So on the Grammys night, February 12, 2012, Nicki Minaj performs her unreleased track at this point, Roman Holiday, delivering an exorcism-themed spectacle featuring religious imagery, levitating priests, and the character Roman Zolanski, her unhinged alter ego. What unfolds becomes one of the most controversial performances in Grammys history. To an untrained eye, it was blasphemous, but to fans, it was cinema. But underneath the spectacle was a layered, uncomfortable, but deliberate message. So, let's talk about Roman. Roman Zolanski, many believe to be a play on words on the disgraced French filmmaker Roman Polanski, who was arrested for drugging and R-wording a 13-year-old girl before pleading guilty to a lesser charge of unlawful sex with a minor. However, before the sentencing, Roman Polanski actually fled the USA back to Europe, where he continues to make films despite his fugitive status in the United States. However, Nicki Minaj states that Roman Zolanski, her alter ego, is a homosexual male from London, England, characterized as being far more outspoken and perhaps malicious than Minaj herself. Similar to other artists' alter egos, such as Beyonce's Sasha Fierce, but with an oddly specific pedophilic twist, but I digress. The performance climaxed with Nicki chanting, "I feel pretty," the warped rendition of the iconic song from West Side Story. Specifically the line, "I feel pretty and witty and gay." It was part satire and part subversion, and basically a love letter to her queer fan base, who had essentially at this point helped build her. This wasn't just a theatrical moment, this was supposed to be her coronation as the queen of rap. A space where her LGBTQIA+ supporters could say, damn, we really made it. But it also happened to happen the day after Whitney Houston passed away. On the red carpet that evening, celebrities were reminiscing on the impact of Whitney Houston, and the Grammys organized a last-minute tribute to Whitney done by Jennifer Hudson. There was a solemn feeling at the Grammys because the world had lost one of the greatest voices in pop music.
She was a fresh-faced kid who could sing better than anybody. And she had a joy when she sang. And she was beautiful. She was tall and beautiful and had a great, great, great voice. And for some reason, she had some demons that she couldn't beat.
The day before the Grammys, on the 11th of February 2012, celebrities were already getting slammed by the press and the general public for attending Clive Davis's annual pre-Grammys party, which was held in the same building that Whitney Houston's dead body was in. I mean, literally her body at the time of the party was still being assessed by police. Although they tried to spin the party as a tribute to the lost icon Whitney Houston,
the party went on as scheduled, with Davis saying that's what Whitney would have wanted.
I do have a very heavy heart, and I am personally devastated by the loss of someone who has meant so much to me.
Performer Alicia Keys paid homage in song.
The world was horrified, but it wasn't just the world. It was also some of Whitney Houston's close friends. A close friend of Whitney's and singer Shaka Khan actually sat down with Piers Morgan and basically stated that none of what went on that evening at Clive Davis's party would have ever have been what Whitney Houston would have wanted.
We were, I think, going to go to the Clive Davis party.
Yes.
It was a surreal event where Whitney's body was still in the hotel, and there was this sort of party where apparently half the room were in tears, the other half were kind of partying. What did you feel about that?
I thought that was complete insanity. And knowing Whitney, I don't believe that she would have said, the show must go on. She was the kind of woman that would say, stop everything. I'm not going to be there. You know. I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced so enormously and whose life had been affected by her. So they were like, I don't understand how that party worked.
I had Clive Davis by pure chance in here on Friday night with Jennifer Hudson, and he obviously worshipped Whitney, and I think he must have gone through agony when he heard this news, knowing it was 2 or 3 hours till this event.
Right.
And I think he took the decision to turn it into a tribute to her. And I understand that. I mean, he obviously was wrestling with the right thing to do.
That would have been right if it really was a true tribute, and and a true tribute, might have been a truer, a more honest tribute in my opinion, would have been maybe call everybody together, let's say a prayer, and let's eat dinner and go home.
So, as you can imagine, this whole situation made the general public already upset with the Grammys because of Clive Davis's annual pre-Grammy gala, which in itself is in collaboration with the Recording Academy. The public found it distasteful that Clyde, as well as the Grammys, would continue such an event on the day that Whitney Houston died, who also happened to be one of Clive Davis's biggest proteges. Like, Whitney put Clive Davis on the map. And to do this with Whitney Houston's dead body literally 4 floors above the event itself is... I'll never forgive them, that's for sure. So imagine the public's uproar when they saw Nicki Minaj levitating, as well as being exorcised the following night. A moment that was supposed to be her coronation as the queen of rap turned into a huge, distasteful media blunder that has scarred her reputation for years, with thousands of public complaints. The Catholic League condemned it, with Catholic League President Bill Donahue stating, "None of this was by accident, and all of it was approved by the Recording Academy, which puts on the Grammys. Whether Minaj is possessed is surely an open question, but what is not in doubt is the irresponsibility of the Recording Academy. Never would they allow an artist to insult Judaism or Islam." So, Ken Elrich, the executive producer of the Grammys, reportedly stated that he was blindsided, and the media framed it as a sacrilegious meltdown. But here's what the media didn't tell you. The performance was approved ahead of time. Ken Elrich had full knowledge of what Nicki Minaj had planned. He just didn't expect to get as much backlash. And instead of protecting the artist like they would have done for pretty much any white pop star, the Grammys threw her to the wolves. No apologies, no support.
Many, many, many moons ago. This is my storytelling voice.
Let's get it.
The Grammys asked me to perform. And I was very excited. They came to my studio, listened to the record, agreed they liked it, everything. And it just so happened that Whitney Houston passed away.
Okay.
And when I was about to go on stage, not the day before, not in the morning, but when I was about to go on stage, I was told by my then management that the people from the Grammys wanted to speak to me. They came into my dressing room and said, "We don't think you should perform. We don't want you to perform anymore."
Why?
And I said, "Huh?" And I was already ready to go on stage. And they were like, "Well, because of the passing of Whitney Houston. And we don't think that the performance..." I had no clue why and how. Even then, it made absolutely no sense. And I was just like, this makes no sense. And there was no one there that even spoke up for me. Like, they didn't care to explain it. Nobody on either side spoke.
Yeah.
And this is after I had just done a bunch of commercials with LL Cool J to promote the Grammys.
Right.
I'm talking about mad commercials.
Yeah.
This is after I had just did mad social media to promote the Grammys viewership. After I did everything they asked, they came the day of the show and told me not to perform. And I said, no, I'm going to perform, of course. And then when the performance came out and it received backlash from the Catholic Church, Ken Ehrlich reached out to my then management and said, can you please tell Nicki to stop speaking about it? And I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how it was an issue for him. Like, it's my brand. I have to explain myself. I'm the one getting backlash. And he said he was mad because I had did an interview and said, well, the producers at the Grammys knew what song I was going to do in advance.
Right.
Which I thought made no sense because obviously nobody's watching the Grammys thinking that the producers don't know what song Nicki Minaj is about to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I didn't understand why they were mad. And I didn't understand the power that man had to start to completely blackball me for the rest of my career. But that's exactly what happened. So he basically told me, you go out there or else. And when I went out there, because now all of my fans are expecting a performance, I'm not going to just not perform. And I just did all this to promote your show and to get viewers.
Right.
So I went out there and he blackballed me for the rest of my career. And he then made me feel afraid to speak on it because thinking, well, if you do ever want to get a Grammy, you better not speak about it. I can now let everyone know that the reason why a song like Monster or what, you name it.
Yeah.
You fucking name it. That's never been touched till this day creatively. Doesn't have a Grammy. That's why. It's because a little black girl thought that she could go against this powerful white man and say, no, I'm gonna perform. You're not making any sense. I promoted the fuck out of this show for you and this makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because of that little backlash, he told me I should have basically lied and said the Grammys didn't know what I was gonna perform, which made no sense. Nobody would have believed that anyway. I didn't realize. So I saw him at JayZ's concert. And I was there again with my then management.
Right.
And I just remember how I walked up to him about to say hello. And he just looked at me like with so much, with just disgust. Like
Did
I
he
was
say
nothing.
anything to you? Or
Absolutely nothing. I went up to him to try to say hi, shake his hand.
Yeah.
He just stood straight and didn't even look at me. Like I was garbage. So since people want to know the real deal while you see all this fuckery happening, that's why. That's why. Because whenever black women speak up for themselves, they look at you like, how dare you? Who do you think you are, bitch? And then when you do speak on it, you're the angry black woman.
Right.
And other black women feed into that.
Right.
And disrespect the black woman that's speaking up that can potentially open doors for them.
And from that moment on, the machine began to turn on her. Every interview from that year is literally the interviewer asking Nicki Minaj about the 2012 Grammy performance.
I stand firmly behind my Grammys performance because I wrote it, and when I wrote the script, I wrote Roman in a monastery, and that's what I created. The story had to be told, just like when you go and see The Exorcism, when you go and see The Devil Inside, it's a movie.
And what they expected was for her to fold, for them to get their Janet Jackson Super Bowl inspired apology. But Nicki Minaj, she didn't fold. She stood by her art, which started the run of the infamous Nicki hate train. So fast forward to 2022, and the Grammy disrespect has not stopped. Nicki Minaj's single, Super Freaky Girl, a record-breaking rap single that debuted at #1, was removed from the rap category and then placed into the pop category by the Recording Academy. Why? Because according to them, it sampled a pop song. Meanwhile, Latto's Big Energy, which was released in 2023, also built off a pop single and somewhat sonically similar, was left in the rap category. This wasn't just blatant inconsistency, this was changing the rules to fit the narrative that they suited. I mean, Latto's Big Energy didn't just sample Mariah Carey's single Fantasy, the remix actually featured Mariah Carey. And Nicki called it out publicly. This is what she said. If Super Freaky Girl is pop, then so is Big Energy. This obviously upset Latto, who felt as if she couldn't celebrate any of her wins because somebody that she idolized was upset, stating, damn, I can't win for losing all these awards/nominations, and I can't even celebrate. This led to Nicki Minaj tweeting, "This Karen has probably mentioned my name in over 1,000 interviews, says that she waited for Pink Friday with her Barbie chain on, bangs and pink hair, but today, Scratch Off decides to be silent, rather than speak up for the black women she called her biggest inspiration." Now, this led into a lengthy tweet feud between the pair. Allegations of Lotto being upset because Nicki Minaj refused to feature on some of her singles, as well as Lotto releasing an audio of her speaking to Nicki Minaj in regards to an interview answer that Lotto had given where Nicki Minaj felt as if her legacy was personally disrespected.
I've done nothing to you. Yeah, you are.
Something that is clearly delusional.
It's delusional to say that other girls are flourishing.
Stupid and misinformed. I'm the one acting crazy.
It's delusional to say that other girls are flourishing. Recognize we weren't giving the platforms that we're being given right now.
What platforms have you got?
And I give you props all the time in every other interview for opening the door for that to be a possibility now.
Okay. So what, in conclusion, what do you think you wanna say about, let's let you finish your statement about what rappers were doing before and what they're doing now. I want you to finish it.
I finished it, Nicki.
Okay.
I said for a long time it was you.
It was me.
Yes, and your
didn't do your research.
What?
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have somebody send you the information about all the women in the last 10 years who have had Billboard recognition, wide recognition, since you are clearly putting yourself above these people.
No, I'm not. That's the purpose I can't even think of the word, like just purposely trying not to understand what I'm saying.
You don't even understand what you're saying because
No, I know exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it was you running shit for a long time. I never said that you're no longer running shit. I said that there are other females flourishing. What is the problem with that?
The hard way. You're going to have to learn the real world and the...
Well, I love you and I will, regardless, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to support you from the sidelines. I feel from the sidelines because I can't do it publicly when someone is literally subtweeting me for no reason, purposely trying to misinterpret what I'm saying. I respect you too much to go back and forth with you.
Due to this feud, the narrative shifted from Nicki Minaj calling out the Recording Academy for a valid inconsistency to Nicki Minaj now has a feud with another rap girlie. And once again, she was seen as loud, bitter, ungrateful, and a sore loser. Now, I have spoken about Nicki Minaj and her long list of feuds in my previous video, which you will find at the top of the screen somewhere. And I am not about to say that Nicki Minaj's hands are clean, because the girl, she can be extremely mean and nasty to some of the new girls rising within the same category as her. But I will say, however, that Nicki Minaj's initial statement about the Recording Academy shifting her to pop for using a pop sample and not doing the same with another person in the same predicament is a valid inconsistency that does need to be called out, and ultimately shows the biases that the Recording Academy has against Nicki Minaj. Because say what you want, Nicki Minaj may not be my favorite person in the whole entire world, but it is absolutely insane that she does not have a Grammy. But if you thought that the Grammys and the Recording Academy were done messing with Nicki Minaj, then comes the Grammys tweet in 2024. So in February 2024, Barbie World, Nicki's Barbie soundtrack collab alongside with Ice Spice, was prematurely announced as a Grammy winner on the Grammys Twitter page. Only for that not to be the case and the Grammy go to somebody completely different, with the tweet being deleted from the official Grammys Twitter page only minutes later with no correction and no clarification. Was this a glitch? Or was this a mistake? Or was this another moment of Nicki Minaj's legacy being erased? Because when it comes to Nicki Minaj, the Recording Academy seems committed to making her impact on music, especially rap music, invisible. But here's where the plan failed. Nicki Minaj didn't come up through the traditional system. She came up in the genesis of internet culture. Back when Tumblr stans and YouTube leaks and MySpace influence could build up any career faster than any label could. She created a moment, a movement, and she created the Barbs. Her army of hyper online, dick riding, ride or die fans who support her no matter what. They studied her. They knew her bars. They knew her lyrics, her politics, her trauma, her strategy. So whilst the industry tried to silence her, the internet kept her alive. So when radio stopped playing her music, the Barbs streamed harder. When blogs discredited her, the Barbs trended hashtags in her defense. I mean, for goodness sakes, when Nicki Minaj was given little to no marketing budget for her Pink Friday 2 album, the Barbs came together and started one of the biggest trends of 2024, making AI-generated promotion for the made-up Barb world city of Gag City, creating a literal movement to get people excited and engaged for the upcoming Pink Friday 2 release album. So when gatekeepers locked the door, she built her own. And today, Nicki Minaj is still charting. She's still breaking records, still selling out stadiums. Not because the industry had allowed her to, or even because her music had improved significantly, no shade, but because her fans never abandoned her.
I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen. I met her in the studio lobby, but her booty looked bigger in the magazines. She said, baby, will you jump on this song of mine? How could I resist when I heard little Nicki rhyme?
Now, over the past few weeks, Nicki Minaj has lost her ever-loving shit, calling out everyone and anyone who has even the slightest connection to JayZ. From Desiree Perez, the current CEO of Rock Nation, and even JayZ's alleged love child. Calling out anybody that she believes is involved with an alleged corrupt empire led by one of the most influential men in music. But before we get into every single scathing allegation it is that Nicki Minaj has made, we need to discuss why Nicki Minaj is insulting all of these people. And the reason is that Nicki Minaj believes that JayZ and Rock Nation owe her a substantial amount of money. Currently, Nicki Minaj is accusing JayZ of failing to properly compensate her for her equity stake in the Tidal streaming service, claiming that she is owed anywhere from $100 to $200 million. She alleges that when Tidal was sold in 2021, that she was only offered a measly $1 million for her share, despite other artists who she alleges were paid substantially more. So in March 2015, JayZ launched Tidal. Tidal was supposed to be a competitive music streaming service to other companies like Spotify and Apple Music, but Tidal had an edge that would be eventually backed by over 30 other musicians and artists, including Coldplay, Madonna, Alicia Keys, amongst a plethora of other musicians. Their edge was that they were a platform made for artists by artists, and promised to give artists a higher percentage of royalties for their music, unlike other streaming platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music, who pay pennies per stream. So as you can imagine, the artists who supported and backed this venture backed with all of their might because they could potentially change the music industry forever. We gotta remember that at one point in time, there was a world without streaming. People bought CDs, people bought singles. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when we bought cassette tapes. And streaming, whilst it is far more convenient to subscribe to a streaming service, doesn't grant the consumer ownership of the song in the same way. So streams are worth less than a CD. Streams are worth less than a cassette tape. Streams are worth way less than a vinyl. That's why you'll see so much on social media, people who support or stand their favorite artists will buy the CDs, will buy the vinyls, despite having absolutely no media to be able to play them on. I mean, I love Doja Cat so much that I bought a CD, and I have not had a CD player in well over 20 years. So back when JayZ launched Tidal, the industry had already changed. Streams contributed less to charting on Billboard. Streams compensated the artist far less, but also was a window of opportunity for new artists to have the ability to be seen as well as be paid for their work. But what ultimately happened was that artists who were getting paid millions of dollars in royalties per year suddenly see that slash by literally half in less than 5 years. And this meant it was a trickle-down effect in the music industry. This meant that musicians were paid less, the backing singers were paid less, the people who played instruments for the album were paid less, that songwriters who put the pen to paper were paid way less. Meaning that all of the overheads needed for marketing, touring, makeup, hair, set dressing, all of that had to be reduced substantially because, again, streams don't make as much money. So the idea that artists could have more equity in what it is that they produced was just like a golden beam of light in the distance. So Nicki Minaj, as well as 15 other artists who supported Tidal, was allegedly, according to Billboard.com, given a 3% share in Tidal, which obviously sweetened the deal, making this a mutually beneficial investment for the artist to go hard for the streaming service Tidal.
Every great movement started with a group of people being able to get together and really just to make a stand.
Everyone here is, that term icons, but we all at one point were in love with music. You can't make it to what we've accomplished without having that love of music be the foundation. I think it's one of the things that sets us aside from someone that's a tech company that's selling advertisement or selling hardware. Right now, they're writing a story for us. We need to write the story for ourselves.
We're going to come together and we're going to take a stand and we're going to give people quality and great things and great experiences.
This is really musicians making music, and it's about music, and there's no end game.
Maybe it sounds like a cliche, but it's about putting art back into the forefront. It's about bringing humanity back to being an artist, not technology, art. Human art.
I spoke to a lot of different people outside of the industry, and everyone was like, what took so long? Like, this thing was the thing that everyone wanted and everyone feared. If these artists sit in the room together, the game changes forever.
Now, as we know, JayZ sold 80% shares of the company to Jack Dorsey for a reported $295 million, which, side note, was a pretty decent deal considering that JayZ only started the company with $56 million. And Nicki Minaj claims that not only did she not get her fair share of money from the sale, but she was offered only $1 million by Rock Nation CEO Desiree Perez as some kind of consolidation prize. But Nicki Minaj also alleges that there was a catch to this $1 million deal, that she had to sign the paperwork in less than 24 hours. Nicki Minaj ultimately rejected the deal because she felt as if her share, her 3% share, was worth much more, and questioned the underhanded tactics of Rock Nation CEO Desiree Perez. Nicki alleges that she was expected to be paid $8.9 million, but that number never even arose in negotiations. However, Steve Styles, an associate of Nicki Minaj as well as Rock Nation and JayZ as well as Tidal, states that Nicki Minaj never received her fair share of the Tidal deal because Nicki Minaj never signed the paperwork, alluding to the notion that the $1 million deal offered by Desiree Perez was simply a goodwill gesture.
I really don't like when people who open up doors as black people get shitted on publicly like that. I just don't like it. I think in that case, what Nicki did was wrong. To bring up Tidal, his streaming company, that he gave you equity in, that you didn't sign the fucking paperwork, and that's the reason why you left millions of dollars on the table. That man didn't do nothing to you. To be talking about somebody who's putting, whether it be Kendrick or Wayne or Drake or Usher, he's putting them on the biggest stage. That's what we should be applauding. That's growth.
This confused a lot of people because we all saw Nicki Minaj sign a document on the day of Tidal's launch. However, it turns out that that document that all of these artists had signed that day was simply a declaration to support Tidal and not actually them signing for their equity and shares in the company. Essentially, this was not a formal deal. This upset Nicki Minaj because she believes that she is the only artist besides Beyonce who was going hard and openly supporting Tidal, using her own influence and her own brand and her likeness, upholding the side of the deal it is that they discussed. And Nicki is not the only person who has had issues with Tidal, let me be clear. Kanye West claimed to cut ties with JayZ because Tidal owed him over $3 million. And another artist duo called American Dollar actually went on to sue Tidal for $5 million over unpaid royalties as well as copyright infringement. So it wasn't very difficult for people to believe that there were maybe some underhanded tactics going on with JayZ, Rock Nation, Tidal, etc. But instead of taking this to the law, Nicki Minaj did exactly what it is that Nicki Minaj does in every situation. She took it straight to the internet. Nicki Minaj posted to Twitter stating the following: "Lol, seeing these niggas scramble in real time is so satisfying. Y'all can talk about Tidal until you're blue in the face, child. Y'all massa know that Tidal is the least of his fucking worries, stupid." And imagine that being a talking point. Do you know how much of a snake you'd have to be to have someone do all the work and then come out and say, "Oop, you never signed the paperwork. Lol, this is y'all king and y'all rat." So you're saying that Brother Billionaire would use a legal loophole not to pay a black woman that upheld her part of the bargain and then threaten her that if she didn't sign a random paper in 24 hours that she'd lose out on a measly $1 million because that's what y'all were offering? I'm so glad I said nope. Scare tactics and manipulation to steal what I worked for, or while I was working for the company, they let me work without nothing signed. How stupid can y'all silly niggas be? Laugh my ass off. Y'all really have no understanding of business, huh? So now you're saying that when we signed our contracts in front of the world, those were fake? Lol, so now you've admitted fraudulent tactics for the media? Like, huh? So in that case, I don't have to abide by any NDAs then, right? Lols. By the way, who authorized the Shade Room to post using my face as one of the artists claiming that we received almost 9 million? Shade Room can't post about Demore or Ramia, so clearly it would have been Bot Nation themselves authorized that post, right? Like, there's no way you can be that stupid in 2025. Silly wabbits, if you think this is about 9 million or Tidal, y'all haven't been paying attention. That's the least of their worries, Buki. Least of their worries, trust me. Meet me back at this post a year from now. So Nicki Minaj ended her public statement by stating that this was the least of their worries, leading to her several-day attack on anything related to JayZ.
I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen. I met her in the studio lobby, but her booty looked bigger in the magazines. She said, "Baby, will you jump on this song of mine?" How could I resist when I heard little Nicki rhyme?
So as we all know, Nicki Minaj has been sounding the alarm on Rock Nation for years now, dropping little hints and speaking in codes and pulling back the curtain just enough to see that something sinister is probably going on behind there. As we discussed previously, Rock Nation is the all-powerful entertainment machine ran by JayZ and fronted by its CEO, Desiree Perez, a woman with deep roots in the music industry as well as in controversy. And whilst Nicki Minaj has never really said anything concrete, she has made it clear she believes that she has been sabotaged. By who? We don't know for sure. To what extent? Still unclear, but her recent social media rants have started painting a much clearer picture. Enter Desiree Hadley, Desiree Perez's own daughter, who is currently in the middle of a jaw-dropping lawsuit between herself and her mother. According to Desiree, this isn't just family drama, this is full-scale surveillance state tactics. She alleges that Desiree orchestrated a coordinated campaign to stalk and harass both her and her husband Javon, and we're talking GPS trackers on cars, hidden cameras planted in bedrooms, hacked devices, and even false arrests. Desiree claims that she was illegally detained under both the Baker Act and the Marchman Act, Florida laws that are meant to protect people who are mentally ill or addicted. The twist? She states that she is neither. According to Desiree, this was never about safety. This was about control. Desiree alleges that Desiree Perez wanted guardianship, aka a conservatorship, over Desiree, and was willing to use and abuse the law in order to make it happen. And guess who's been keeping tabs on the entire shenanigans? That's right, Nicki Minaj. She's been watching this all go down, pretty much like the rest of us. But unlike many people within the music industry, she was willing to talk about it. Nicki publicly supported Demore's claim, tweeting out hashtags justice for Demore, a quiet but unmistakable act of defiance against a woman who is at the top of Rock Nation. And before a gag order that was granted by Judge Beth Bloom was slapped on to silence Demore, Demore told her story everywhere. She did interviews with BJ Investigates, Jaguar Wright, Xavier, as well as Tasha K. She even gave her recollection of events to NBC Florida.
It's called the Baker Act. Under state law, people can be forced into a facility for a mental health evaluation if, among other reasons, they are a danger to themselves or others.
But in a new lawsuit, a South Florida woman says that she was held in mental institutions for nearly 2 weeks for no legitimate reason. And she shared body camera video that she says proves her case and raises questions about how this law meant to protect people can be implemented.
Prevent me from leaving the room. The incident started on March 27th of last year.
So legally, I can't go home.
No.
Why?
Body camera video shows Broward Sheriff's deputies met on the side of the road in Dania Beach.
Hello. How's it going? How's it going?
By this man.
I'm waiting for a car to go by. There's a girl driving it. She's like a kind of mentally unstable person.
BSO has not responded to inquiries about who called the deputies there, but it appears they're taking direction from the man in the gray t-shirt.
She's heading over here right now. Pinging her or? Yes, they have a GPS on her.
He asks deputies to follow him to a nearby parking lot once she arrives.
I have a doctor, Dr. Boba from Hollywood Memorial Hospital, who's over there right now waiting for her to show up, and he's going to bake her out.
And when I showed up, it obviously was not an estimate.
Demore Hadley says she was lured to that parking lot by someone posing as a potential client for the landscaping company she runs with her then boyfriend, now husband. But according to her lawsuit, when she showed up, she was approached by several people.
We're going to take her.
Including Dr. Daniel Bober, the chief of psychiatry at Memorial Regional Hospital, who also runs a private practice and has been featured as a mental health expert on media outlets, including NBC6.
I already knew I had intuition. Something is not right here.
Deputies also had questions for those present, at least at first.
Who are you guys? So we're a mobile crisis team working with Dr. Bober from Hollywood Memorial Hospital. Okay.
Memorial Healthcare tells us there is no mobile mobile crisis team affiliated with the hospital, and Dr. Bober did not respond to our inquiry. We found the people seen here, James Fondo and Stephen and Jessica Cady, are actually owners of Sig9, a private security company. The men, both former high-ranking BSO officers, according to their bios.
Am I being detained?
For now, you're being detained.
The Baker Act, which Dr. Bober was citing, allows a physician to order someone they've examined in the previous 48 hours be held against their will in a mental health facility if they pose a risk to themselves or others, and the doctor can ask law enforcement to take them there.
He's not my doctor. He's never seen me in my life.
A concern Demore raises several times in the video.
He's a doctor. He's part of the mobile crisis unit.
I've never spoken to him.
I don't care.
And she also says he never examined her. On the Baker Act paperwork, Dr. Bober certified he did that exam at 5:56 p.m. that day. The same time, video shows them all still in that parking lot. He diagnosed her with an unspecified psychosis, adding she was a risk to herself.
I have 3 different collateral sources of information that say that she's been acting psychotic, that she threatened to overdose yesterday.
What he told me was, we received a call from your family that you tried to OD the night before, and you're being Baker acted. And my question was like, what are you talking about?
Experts tell us it's common for doctors to take families' concerns into account, and ultimately the decision to Baker Act someone is up to the healthcare professional on scene. In the lawsuit, Demore says she has no mental health history and does not use illegal drugs. She also shared records from Memorial Regional showing drug test results from that day were negative.
Can't drive myself?
No, you're going to have to go with them.
Video shows Demore asked to be transported by deputies and was told this.
I can't ride with you and you guys take me?
You're going to be in handcuffs, so dog's not going to be able to come?
No, I don't want to be handcuffed. That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. So I'm going to wait. We're going to take you to their vehicle.
A deputy encourages Demore to get into this truck.
You can't just force a woman into a dark gray truck without validating or verifying the story that's being told.
A BSO spokesperson says the incident is now under review.
I don't think I've ever felt so alone and unseen and unheard in my whole entire life.
Memorial Healthcare tells us they can't talk about this case because of the pending lawsuit. Dr. Bober told us initially he couldn't discuss the case because of privacy restrictions. Then Demore provided a release allowing him to speak with us, but so far we have not heard back. In a statement, Sig9 denied the allegations, adding, "Our role was limited, lawful, and conducted in good faith under the direction of a licensed physician." Again, Demore's mother denies any wrongdoing, claiming her actions are based on legitimate concern.
The allegations are disturbing, but the silence from Rock Nation is way louder. But Nicki Minaj's public solidarity wasn't just empathy. I believe it was strategy. It was her way of saying, I've seen the machine from the inside and I know what it's capable of. She's not just talking about her frustrations anymore. She is pointing fingers and naming names. Almost every tweet from Nicki Minaj highlighting her dispute between Tidal, Rock Nation, etc. includes the hashtags Justice for Demore or Depose Desiree Perez. Meaning that every blog that covered her incoherent rants had people questioning what on earth the hashtag was about. And the Barbs were sure to use those hashtags themselves to further inform everybody about the ongoing case. We have to remember that Nicki Minaj alleges that Desiree Perez was the woman who offered her the $1 million deal in under 24 hours, potentially undercutting Nicki Minaj by $7.9 million. So building the public narrative that Desiree Perez had underhanded business tactics and had affiliations to the law and lawmakers in order to present things not as they are but as she wants them to be, as well as her underhanded tactics not just in business but with her own daughter, was a tactical character assassination. Nicki Minaj also spoke about Desiree Perez being involved in a case that saw her arrested in 1994 for conspiracy with intent to distribute narcotics. However, what is interesting about this case is that Desiree Perez cooperated with law enforcement, essentially agreeing to wear a wire and become a police informant, and received a lesser sentence of 5 years probation. Later, she was charged with parole violation and served 9 months in prison in 1999. However, on January 19, 2021, President Trump pardoned Desiree Perez. and that raised eyebrows within the rap community as to why JayZ, who has spoken openly and even rapped in songs about him being a drug dealer and a New York drug kingpin before his rise to fame in rap, would be in bed with a police informant who helped the feds on a similar case.
If you weren't a rapper, you'd be a
drug dealer.
You still think you'd be a drug dealer?
That shit was fun.
Was it?
Yeah. It's adrenaline rush. Ask anybody who's ever been really in the middle of the game. It's adrenaline rush that it's addictive. That's why people, it's a very dangerous field.
Yeah.
Job, occupation, but the rush that you get, like, cause it's final. It's final. You could be sitting up in the plug's house and the whole thing get raided and they're not going to jail. They're tough. They're not going to jail. They just start shooting. You know, it was just a rush with the whole.
What was your favorite part about it? Did you like counting the money? Did you like cutting the shit up? Did you like serving motherfuckers?
The adrenaline, like it's the life. It's
the whole
game.
thing.
It's the whole just being in the game. It's almost like being a rapper.
Was she offering some kind of protection? Was the connections to her and the Trump administration a handy position to have in the alleged underhanded business dealings of a billionaire? Even JayZ's ex-best friend, D. Haven, spoke out about this, about how JayZ is well connected and how Desiree Perez was the woman who helped numerous rappers fight and beat cases and charges.
He said that I'm gonna blow up and I can eat off this. And keep in mind, the chick had a plan too. Like, yo, we could do things. And I can guarantee you the conversation with Emery, even when Emery came home and seen, he came home and seen the same thing. Yo, you dealing with her?
Who's the chick?
Desiree.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
He came home and had to see it too. Say, yo, what is this? And I can tell you how that conversation probably went. Like, look, man, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to worry about nothing else ever again. You over here with us now. Right. But what if, yo, she a snitch? Man, fuck that snitch shit, bro. Them people that's talking about that snitch shit, we ain't gonna be breathing in the same ear. That's what you worried about? Them niggas that don't have nothing sitting home? Where you gonna be if you don't get on this side of town, get on this side? I can see that conversation happening. That's how all those conversations, that's how they think of us. They like, really, those guys talking about snitching this and that, what you worried about them for? They don't be in our parties. You know what I'm saying? What you worried about that for? Anybody that they deal with, they not gonna bring this up. You think anybody gonna be like, yo, E, man, what happened with you in the Hague? Nope. Cause they gonna find themselves out of business or somewhere else. You know, so, you know, I used to call it the blackball game. They blackball us, but like I said, man, I already seen what God got from me. Bro, this is what I'm sitting here telling you. This is what will drive you insane. Trying to figure out what.
Right.
Is it just this?
Right.
Because this is all I know. Because if it ain't that, is that? Is it the snitch? Is it your informant friend? Did they come to you? Did they get you? When did they get you?
Right.
Because he got with a group of people that was a major connect for him. Mm-hmm. So I could see him going that far. But them people are the police.
They done took down all these other powerful black people. JayZ's like the lone standing powerful black man. If you do the track wrestling on them, Jay is them people. If you do the history on most of the people that got in trouble in the industry, big trouble, who they went to for help? That's true. When Lil Wayne was in trouble, who'd he go to? When Meek Mills was in trouble, who'd he go to? Meek Mills said it himself. Desiree helped me. You understand? So how could he be up next? You know what I'm saying? He is them people. They go to him when they got problems. And what they gonna say if he don't come up in nothing? What they gonna say? Told you, he ain't got nothing to do with that. They still gonna cover it up anyway. But I don't think they coming after him at all. I don't think they got, like I said, I think he is them.
he has a relationship with them. You talking about a woman that had a relationship with the feds for 20-something years, right? When you working for them, you got an agent, your agent that's in charge of you. You think she don't have no relationships with over the years with all these agents that became retired and connected and this and that and the third till they just know shit? She got power. That's power over there.
It's undeniable to me, at least, that she is an extremely connected individual that would honestly benefit any billion-dollar enterprise. Next up, we have the Megan Thee Stallion lawsuit. No, not the Tory one, the one that's going on presently, between Megan Thee Stallion and her cameraman, Emilio Garcia. In the lawsuit, it states that Emilio Garcia joined Megan Thee Stallion's traveling crew in Ibiza. Megan became intimate with another woman seated inches away, a scene he states that he couldn't escape from and found deeply traumatizing. The next day, Megan allegedly told him never to speak about it and began harassing him, including fat-shaming insults like calling him a fat bitch. And Garcia also claims that there are wage violations, that he was misclassified as an independent contractor and deprived overtime, health coverage, and basic rights, all while being controlled to the point that he couldn't work for anyone else. However, Megan Thee Stallion denied wrongful behavior. Her legal team insisted that this was simply a money claim, meant to extort and embarrass Megan Thee Stallion. And they tried to get the case dismissed. However, the judge refused, and this case is going to go forward with Garcia telling his story in court. Now, as expected, Nicki Minaj weighed in. On July 8th, 2025, after the judge granted that Garcia's case could go ahead, Nicki Minaj once again lit up Twitter and Instagram with cryptic messages and posts. With a message posted under popular blogger DJ Academic stating, what was the name of that law again? Karma's law? Touch not my anointed law? Vengeance is the Lord's law? We give the glory, more money for me. And again, using hashtags regarding Desiree Perez's ongoing lawsuit with her daughter, Damora Hadley. And again, a calculated move to draw more eyes towards her situation with Rock Nation. Nicki knew that weighing in on Megan Thee Stallion's current legal troubles would start a discussion. She was smart, even bringing up the Megan's Law line, which was brought up by Megan Thee Stallion in Hiss, at a jab at Nicki Minaj as well as Kenneth Petty for the sexual assault lawsuit that is currently ongoing between him and Jennifer Huff, that ultimately led to Kenneth Petty remaining on the sex offenders registry for life. However, many people saw this as Nicki Minaj throwing stones from a glass house, completely missing her maneuvers. But to understand how Nicki Minaj's jab at Megan Thee Stallion connects to Rock Nation, we have to follow Nicki Minaj's method of thinking. Come on, tap into that crazy brain. I know you got it. In 2019, Nicki Minaj cut ties with long-term managers G. Robinson and Cortez Bryant, major players who were connected to Rock Nation. What followed was absolute chaos. Suddenly, Nicki Minaj wasn't the queen of rap, she was difficult, jealous, and problematic. Titles that Nicki Minaj feels was placed on her for her non-compliance. Just a few months later, after Nicki's departure, Rock Nation signed Megan Thee Stallion to a management deal. You click in, it said, and all lines, they lead to JayZ. And then came the Megan Thee Stallion press machine. Megan was everywhere. She was in festivals, she was in magazines, she was in articles, award shows, and right in the mix of all of that was the collaboration between Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion on their single Hot Girl Summer, featuring Ty Dolla $ign. But once the headlines cooled, so did their professional relationship. Instead, what happened next was Megan Thee Stallion's mega moment with Cardi B with the single WAP. The same Cardi B that the media loves to pit against Nicki Minaj. Now, this could totally be a coincidence. It could totally be Megan Thee Stallion just wanting to explore creatively. But the way that Nicki Minaj saw it, Nicki Minaj saw it as a orchestrated move by management who had every incentive to relocate Spotlight. Now again, I am not saying that Nicki Minaj is right in her theories. I just want you to get into her mindset so we can see how her cogs are turning. Because I don't know, I have to say, through all of this, I've got a tiny little bit of empathy for her. Because I can see where she's coming from, even if I think she's dead wrong. Because we have to remember, the Rock Nation isn't just like a management company. It's an empire that manages artists, sports people, brands, media relationships. And with that comes entire public narratives. Now, when your team controls both the talent and the corporate bag, you're no longer negotiating. You're managing outcomes. And Nicki Minaj, in her head, she saw all of the movement. She wasn't just being managed. To her, she was being maneuvered. Her endorsements were being filtered. Her visibility was going down. Her status was being phased out in favor of more manageable and brand-friendly artists. But as a counterpoint to this, when Nicki Minaj laid down in bed with Kenneth Petty, I feel like the whole idea that any brand would really want to work with somebody who has that kind of a connection to sexual predators would be very difficult to market in general. So whilst I see where Nicki Minaj's headspace is, a part of me is like, girl, you kind of brought this on yourself. But then I think about, in retrospect, how the world been knowing about P. Diddy and how the world been knowing about R. Kelly for literal years. And there had to be like this big crescendo moment for these two top players in the music industry's house of cards to fall down. Whereas for Nicki Minaj, it wasn't her doing the crime, but the association to the crime. However, either way, I don't care. And it is what it is as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I digress. In the mind of Nicki Minaj, we're going back. So at this point, Nicki Minaj's tweets were going past the vendetta. They were going at JayZ, Rock Nation, and the gatekeeping of a network that she believes controls Megan's narrative. Like, for real, I truly believe that she doesn't believe that Megan Thee Stallion got shot. I truly believe that she believes that Tory Lanez is being, kept in prison because Rock Nation has some kind of involvement. I truly believe that she believes that. It's untrue, but I truly believe she believes that. She accused Rock Nation of deploying bots and manipulating paid media, attempting, in her opinion, to replace her brand while sinking quite a lot of financial fortune into Megan's. But once again, like I said, all lines lead straight to JayZ. So let's talk about JayZ's lawsuit with Ramir Satterthwaite. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. So Ramir Satterthwaite is a man who has spent over a decade fighting JayZ to prove in US courts that he is JayZ's biological son, born in the mid-90s to a woman who at the time would have been a minor. Her name was Wanda Satterthwaite, and she has since passed away. He alleges that JayZ has refused to take a DNA test, using legal maneuvering and harassment, this is what he's alleging, to stall the case for years.
My mom did tell me she went in there and filed a fraternity test, and it just, basically I can say it was a whole lot of running around with that case. It was a whole lot of things that wasn't, what can I say, we didn't have enough information to push the case. That's what I basically can say. We didn't have enough information to keep the case going. So it was a big case to me because, I really wanted to find out who my father was, and for the case not to go how I was planning it. I really thought it was going to go different than what it was, but I really feel like it should have been over with because, I feel like if it was anybody else, I'm not saying this because people got higher standards or people make more money than that, but it's just different because, if it was anybody else that made a low income, I feel like they would have had them in there way faster than people that's wealthy.
Now, recently, Ramir dropped his lawsuit. We're talking like in the past 3 or so days, citing never receiving a fair hearing and blaming the system for manipulation and the financial damages it is that he has suffered.
JayZ is not a defendant on this, although he's named multiple times in that. What you're seeking now is accountability from the court because you believe that he used his power and money to influence their decisions. Is that correct?
Yes, I do believe that. And no one has come out and said, anything to go against my claim. So I'm like, everyone knows that it's many courtrooms that it has people in it that's not doing their job or it's not doing the correct thing. We can't say that everyone's that working in our government systems are always doing the correct thing and don't make mistakes. What I'm saying is you guys got to be held accountable if you are at these high levels and we go into these courtrooms and all Americans and everyone around the world are paying their tax dollars everywhere. And you can't even go in there and get a fair due process. These guys are making laws and making loopholes for themselves. Like basically, they got laws, but it's also loopholes that they can get around laws. It shouldn't even be loopholes to get around certain things. So it's like, we really need to fix a lot of things that's going on in these courts. We really do.
Now, Nicki Minaj, she was already on her anti-Rock Nation days-long tweet tirade. So she posted a photograph of JayZ and Ramia, captioning it, "Oh, this is why he was trending the other day. I don't know. I hope all is well. To God be the glory." But by amplifying Ramia's story, Nicki Minaj is putting a spotlight on the justice system, who she believes is allegedly manipulated by JayZ's influence. Again, CC in the alleged connections of Desiree Perez. Now, for hip-hop heads like myself, we've known about Ramia for years. Like when we're saying this is over a decade, like I heard about Ramia and the allegations of this boy being JayZ's son years ago. I heard about him demanding a DNA test years ago. Now, I don't know what happened to the story because I obviously stopped following it, but it was wild to me that in 2025, JayZ has not put that whole situation to rest with a DNA test.
Do you believe wholeheartedly that JayZ your father?
I really do. And if it's not, why you can't prove me wrong? Like it's not far as a proving me wrong thing. It's go to the courtroom and basically do what everybody else would have to do. Like it's not, you don't have to prove me wrong. I just want the truth. I was 7. My mom had to sit down with me. I guess she thought I was old enough to know now. And she been saying Sean Carter, that's what she was calling him at first before she was calling it JayZ. And I really didn't know who that was because I was young and, had my little brother and I really wasn't worrying about it. She was saying it a lot, but I really just was going along with the person I was just seeing, like the person I looked at who was taking care of me at that time. I really wasn't really trying to understand what my mom was talking about, but she constantly put it in my head like, son, it's not your father. And I really want you to know it is. This person is your father. And I just want you to know. She continued to tell me that over the years and over the years and over the years. I honestly really want the case to be over with. Like I've been going through, just like I said, a lot, and not trying to make nobody seem like a bad person enough. And I'm just really coming out here for the truth. I don't want no money or anything. I wasn't looking for none of that. I just want to know the truth. And if I can't go to the courts and get the truth, like, what is it really? Why are you? What is it? I just really want it over. It's something that's really affecting my life, and I just want it over with. I never asked for money. I don't do interviews just saying, "Hey, JayZ, give me your money," or "I'm coming at the JayZ for his money." I never did that. I'm not that type of person.
Because for years now, Ramia has asked for only one thing: a DNA test. Not money, not a lawsuit, not nothing, just a DNA test. Just scientific clarification, a yes or a no. But JayZ has never taken the test. And the question we all need to ask is, why not? According to public records and statements from Ramia's camp, his mother Wanda would have only have been 16 at the time that she was impregnated, or she alleges that she was impregnated by JayZ, who at that time would have been around 22 years old. Now let that sink in. We are not just talking about a baby daddy dispute. We are talking about what could have potentially have been a statutory rape case. One that never went to trial, that never got enough public airtime. One that at this point will never go into hip-hop's sacred memory. If JayZ was to take that test and that test turned out to be positive, it wouldn't just make JayZ a father, it would retroactively connect him to a criminal act. That's why the DNA test, in my opinion, is so radioactive. A confirmed DNA test to Ramia from JayZ tied to a minor would completely decimate JayZ's entire empire and legacy. So I believe his legal team moved smart. Delay the case, challenge jurisdiction, use technicalities, anything but take the test. Because once that truth comes out, shit can't get back in that bottle. So when Nicki Minaj went out and publicly supported Ramia for his claims, this wasn't just a jab. She wasn't just shading her former idol. She was saying, I see the secrets you're hiding, and now the world sees them too. So when she threw her weight behind Ramia, it wasn't just clout chasing, it was whistleblowing. Because had this case had been anybody else, maybe a less successful father, the world would have demanded answers. But this, the untouchable king of hip hop, it could never be. Because we know that touching the throne would destroy the foundation the industry stands on. So Nicki Minaj is using this to her leverage and using the only weapon she has left in her arsenal, which is her undoubtable influence, to get eyes on stories surrounding an enterprise and the personal life of all of the players involved, to get what she believes that she is owed, which is at this point, allegedly, according to her, 200 million, which I think is, quite frankly, personally, way too high. She says it's with interest, but way too high, girl. Be so fucking for real. But I feel like realistically, if there is any validity to what Nicki Minaj is saying, she could get like a cool 30 mil from this for sure. Why at this point in time does Nicki Minaj want money from a person and an industry empire that she clearly doesn't like or respect? After hearing all of the allegations that have been placed on Desiree Perez, JayZ, Megan Thee Stallion, and the Rock Nation empire, shouldn't this all be about justice rather than money? Well, Nicki allegedly has her own financial issues it is that need to be dealt with. And her support of alleged victims might not just be about empathy, but for personal gain.
I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen. I met her in the studio lobby, but her booty looked bigger in the magazines. She said, baby, will you jump on this song of mine? How could I resist when I heard little Nicki rhyme?
One of the main reasons that many people couldn't understand Nicki Minaj's numerous rants about anybody associated or affiliated to Rock Nation is if Nicki was owed large sums of money, why wasn't she taking it to court instead of taking it online? Well, as we noted previously, people close to Rock Nation state that Nicki Minaj never signed any kind of contracts with them, meaning that legally speaking, anything it is that Nicki Minaj did on behalf of Rock Nation was done on a handshake deal, which legally has zero integrity. So that led me to take a look at all of Nicki and Nicki adjacent lawsuits that may be impacting her financially. So let's take a quick look at the list. So in the first case, we have Nicki Minaj versus Tracy Chapman. Yes, that Tracy Chapman. You got a fast car, and I got a ticket to anywhere, fucking bagger. This was a lawsuit that was tied to copyright infringement, and at present, the status of this lawsuit has been settled in 2020 for $450,000. So the details of this lawsuit is that in 2018, Nicki Minaj recorded a song titled Sorry, which was also featuring hip-hop artist Nas, which sampled Tracy Chapman's song Baby Baby Can I Hold You. Nicki Minaj's team had sent out requests to Tracy Chapman's team so that they could get clearance. However, Tracy Chapman had said no. The song never officially dropped, but did get leaked by a DJ called Funk Flex, which is ultimately what prompted the lawsuit. Nicki initially fought back, claiming fair use during the creative process, because again, the song hadn't actually dropped, it got leaked, and a judge actually ruled in favor of that in 2020, stating that experimentation in the studio isn't copyright infringement. However, Tracy Chapman continued to pursue for damages regarding the leak, and Nicki settled for $450,000 so that this could all be resolved and they could all move on. Now, it's likely that this case has been financially paid up at this moment in time, but it's important for us to note this case to show that Nicki Minaj has had somewhat of a financial dent in her empire.
But Nicki Minaj is a multi-millionaire. What do you think she's worried about $450,000?
I hear you hark in the distance. Well, don't worry, because we've got case 2, which I think is the most damning case that could be a financial drain on Nicki Minaj's resources, which is the case between Kenneth Petty, her husband, and Jennifer Huff. The allegations that were placed in this case are for harassment and witness intimidation. The status of this case at present is dismissed against Nicki Minaj, who was somewhat implicated towards the middle of this case, but still ongoing with Kenneth Petty. Now, this was the case that almost broke the internet. If you want a detailed rundown of everything surrounding that case, I made a video a year ago. I will leave it somewhere on the screen in the information tab with full details of all of the allegations from start to finish. However, this is just a quick TLDR. Jennifer Huff is a woman who alleged that she was sexually assaulted and R-worded by Kenneth Petty in 1994 at knife point. Kenneth Petty, approximately, if I'm recalling correctly, in 1996, took a plea deal for a lesser charge that ultimately led to Kenneth Petty having to agree to be on a sex offenders registry for life.
Petty is required to register as a sex offender because he was convicted of first-degree attempted rape of a 16-year-old girl in 1995. At the time, he was sentenced to 18 to 54 months, but spent 4 years in prison. Petty is a level 2 registered sex offender in New York. This means he's considered a moderate risk of repeat offense.
Despite an R-word kit being completed on the day of the alleged crime, and Kenneth's DNA being found everywhere. However, Jennifer filed a lawsuit in 2021, which was a civil case. The charge against Nicki at one point in this lawsuit was that Nicki allegedly tried to intimidate Jennifer Huff, as well as attempted to bribe her into recanting her story, which in turn would see Kenneth Petty removed from the SO registry.
Now, you allege that Nicki and Kenneth were harassing you. In what way?
With them sending people to negotiate numbers as far as money is concerned with family members. And Nicki is the one who personally reached out to me. She's, in regards to helping them in this situation. And then the threats that I received because I kept saying no to every offer, to every suggestion. The last incident was when one of their associates put $20,000 on my lap, and I still kept saying no. The last message I received was that I should have taken the money because they're going to use that money to put on my head.
Nicki categorically denied all of the claims against her, and the claims against Nicki Minaj in particular were dropped in 2022. But at this point, because this had become global news, with Jennifer Huff even going onto The Real in order to tell her story, the damage had already been done. However, the suit with Kenneth Petty still remains ongoing. But if you were to look at the documents online at present, it seems as if Kenneth Petty might be settling this lawsuit with potentially a substantial payout. And considering how huge this dispute has been, I can only imagine that the amount is going to be in the millions. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's Kenneth, that's not Nicki. Well, Kenneth Petty doesn't have no goddamn job job besides being Nicki Minaj's husband. So essentially the financial burden of this lawsuit, as well as legal fees and all of that kind of shenanigans, is assumed to fall onto Nicki Minaj. So let's get into a more recent case in 2024, a case against Thomas Wildemiller versus Nicki Minaj. That's a German name. I'm sorry if I have literally pronounced that incorrectly. I'm trying my best, girl. I'm dyslexic. So the allegation in this case is physical assault. The status of this case, however, is a default judgment because Nicki didn't respond to them. The German producer, Thomas W., sued Nicki for breach of contract as well as assault after a cancelled performance in 2018. He claims that Nicki's team aggressively confronted him after a dispute regarding payment and technical issues. Now, the reason that this case has ended with a default judgment is that Nicki never responded. She never responded to the lawsuit, and she never responded to any requests to come to court. Therefore, if she wasn't there to be able to defend her own case, the default went to the guy who made the claim. So this case doesn't necessarily mean that Nicki Minaj is guilty per se. It just means that Nicki Minaj didn't respond, therefore the judge had no other option but to serve a default. Now, what is happening at this moment right now is that the enforcement process is ongoing, and $500,000 is expected to be paid by Nicki Minaj for this default judgment. The next case we have is Brandon Garrett versus Nicki Minaj in 2025, so we're talking recent. The allegation against Nicki Minaj is assault and battery, and at present the status is ongoing. However, Nicki denies all allegations. So the latest lawsuit comes from a guy called Brandon Garrett, who alleges Nicki and her security team assaulted him after a conversation it is that they had earlier this year. The details surrounding this particular case are pretty scarce. Like, there's not a lot of information as to what actually took place. But Brandon alleges that he suffered intentional physical harm and is now seeking substantial damages. Nicki's camp, however, has completely denied everything. And Nicki Minaj is fighting this case at real time, so we don't know what the outcome is going to be, but there is also, again, a potential for a significant financial dent to Nicki Minaj's empire. However, as I said previously, Jennifer Huff's case is the case that I believe is going to be in a multi-millions department in terms of the assumed settlement, because this case is the case that has become the most problematic one for Nicki Minaj and has ultimately become the case that has stained her career. So for this case to be coming to an alleged settlement close ultimately means that this case didn't just go away as Jennifer Huff allegedly states that Nicki Minaj intended. But this isn't the only reason that people believe that Nicki Minaj is having financial instability. Nicki Minaj has been alleged to have done her last 2 tours, which is the Pink Friday 2 tours, for free due to allegedly owing the Tennessee bank money. Receipts posted online from the California UCC filing showed that Nicki Minaj's entire catalog was waged as collateral until the debt was cleared. Now, I can see that this filing exists, but as a Brit, I can't actually get into the document, so I've been unable to verify 100% the validity of this. So this is me saving my ass legally, but it is something that is important to note, that her money might not be as long as it looks, and the pressure to pay back these debts, as well as legal fees and settlements, etc., could have a huge impact on why Nicki Minaj is now speaking up about Rock Nation and talking about the money it is that she is owed in 2025 rather than way back in 2021 when the whole deal was closed. However, due to all of her Twitter rants, station heads, and Instagram live streams, it's all falling on deaf ears, with the narrative that Nicki Minaj is delusional and losing her mind, and that the financial instability is what is turning her crazy. And with a lack of response from Megan Thee Stallion, JayZ, Rock Nation, Desiree Perez, Nicki seemed to just suddenly say, I don't give a fuck. Anybody can catch these hands. Even if it made her look more like the supervillain that she alleges that they have been painting her to be. Which is where we get into what on earth happened between Nicki Minaj and SZA.
I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen. I met her in the studio lobby, but her booty looked bigger in the magazines. She said, baby, will you jump on this song of mine? How could I resist when I heard little Nicki rhyme?
So even since last week, Nicki Minaj's rants are still ongoing. As I am filming this right now, Nicki Minaj is still tweeting in succession about Rock Nation and JayZ. However, a couple of days ago, Nicki Minaj waged a full-scale war against the artist SZA. And that is where everybody drew the line. In the past, Nicki Minaj has only ever targeted women rappers within the same genre as her. But SZA, she's just an R&B girly, and she really doesn't be getting in any kind of confrontation or fucking with anybody, to be honest. Many saw Nicki Minaj's attack on SZA as completely unjustified. So let's talk about where this all began. The public dispute started on July 15th, 2025, when Nicki Minaj accused Punch, who is the president of TDE, Top Dog Entertainment, of bullying her on Twitter. She taunted him by calling him minus 30 million and mocking him as a tiny dick executive. It must be noted that the minus 30 million was in relation to TDE's former artist Kendrick Lamar and TDE's current artist Doechii seemingly dropping over 30 million streams online after both of their successful albums in 2024, pointing again to botted numbers and manufactured impact. This tweet tirade from Nicki Minaj started because Punch, the president of TDE, posted simply the words "broken Barbies," which Nicki Minaj assumed was a jab at her. Soon after, SZA, TDE's main artist generating the majority of the revenue, went on to tweet, "Mercury retrograde. Don't take the bait, lol, silly goose." And Nicki Minaj took that as, again, a personal direct jab at her and tweeted, "Go draw some freckles back on, Buki. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Sounding like a fucking dead dog." And even then, she used the hashtags Justice for Demore, which, as we know, is a reference to the ongoing legal battle with her mother, Desiree Perez, and ultimately was used to expand this argument into the battle with herself, Nicki Minaj, and Rock Nation, aka Tidal. However, it turns out that Punch's tweet was not actually directed at Nicki Minaj. It was in relation to a new artist that TDE had signed. The artist is called I Am Lyric, and she is coming out with her debut single under the label called Broken Barbies. So in response to Nicki Minaj, TDE's president, Punch, posted, "I am here to help you find, take back, and keep your righteous mind, because obviously you have lost it," before then going on to post a promotional video of I Am Lyric and her song Broken Barbies. In response to Nicki Minaj, SZA tweeted back saying, "I don't care about none of that weird shit you poppin'," which many people honestly online believed was Kendrick Lamar because they are currently on tour at the moment. They all believe this to be Kendrick Lamar taking her phone and tweeting that out for her because it seems very much out of character for SZA to tweet something like that, and I can believe it, honestly. But SZA was ultimately saying that her tweet was never directed at Nicki. She stated that it was just simply about Mercury being in retrograde and nothing to do with her ongoing feuds. However, Mercury retrograde didn't begin until July 17th, and all of this took place on July 15th. So there's a lot of people out there who still believe that SZA's tweet was directed at Nicki Minaj. I personally don't, but there's a lot of people out there who do, because they're like, why was she tweeting about retrograde when retrograde doesn't happen for another 2 days? And I'm personally like, she's on tour with Kendrick Lamar, and at that point in time, they were in France. Time differences, jet lag, body clocks, it's not unsurprising that somebody would misremember what day it is. Now, I'm not here to convince you whether it was directed to Nicki Minaj or not, but I am here to question why such a huge reaction to a tweet that was so insignificant. Nicki Minaj didn't just go personal, she broadened the scope by challenging SZA's relevance by asking, if every song you ever done vanished, the music biz wouldn't even miss you. And then went on to tote her global footprint, insinuating SZA had never headlined major festivals in countries that Nicki Minaj plays stadiums. Nicki Minaj tweeted that she didn't even know who SZA was, and basically denied SZA's global impact on music, leading Nicki Minaj to then go on an entire rant on the platform's station head where she makes personal jabs at SZA, body shaming, as well as calling her names. And many saw this as just simply a step too far.
Now look, bitch. I don't know one of your motherfucking songs. Not one, bitch. Y'all, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I'm not... Y'all, do y'all want to know something? Yo, like, y'all, I'm not being funny. But what I'm saying is, listen, SZA. Okay? Listen, SZA. Okay? Find you somebody to motherfucking play with, SZA. Les Miserables, bitch. I said find you some motherfucking else body to play with, bitch. You already played with your own hoe and we seen how that went, bitch. And you know I don't, you know, surgery shame or body shame. You know I don't even do that. But bitch, I don't know if you fat, obese, chubby, or skinny. You see, and so now I got to call Dr. Now to make me figure out what the fuck has been going on here. Bitch, because what retrograde was you in, ma'am? You see what happens when you're so thirsty to be stupid and motherfucking corny? Leave me the fuck alone. When you see me in certain way or form, you were just one of the kids that couldn't get in the crowd, at the in crowd, huh? You went and drawing freckles on your motherfucking face and rearranging you know, shit. But let's get to the heart of who Les Miserables is. Les Miserables is. We have to discuss this. We will no longer tolerate not being able to speak on the abuse that we've suffered at the hands of any powerful person, you see. And then they send out their little chicken heads, not knowing that I've been compiling information for 5 years. Do these people not know my stats? Like, does this woman think, like, on any day that if me and her walked in the room, like, I'm in any country in the world, these bots done got to your motherfucking fat heads, I see. Y'all don't even know who's a motherfucking superstar and icon anymore, huh, Mizza? Mizza, you're not an icon. You are a yodeling fool who needs auto-tune, who done dissed every female entertainer, it seems, based off of, you know, the screenshots. Take your yodeling ass on somewhere else, bitch. What the fuck? You done tried to break that man back or something, I think, allegedly. How the fuck did you match the dots every time you put back on the freckles is what we the people want to motherfucking know. And did Desiree Perez take her motherfucking deposition? That's what we wanted. Oh, I knew that was gonna get you mad, Des. Mm-hmm. So, you know, with these women not having any understanding that they've been constantly used as pawns. And now streams have been vanishing left and right. Where have they gone? Oh my. But talent wins, and talent is God-given.
SZA actually went on to respond to Nicki Minaj's allegation of not knowing who she was by posting a screenshot of Nicki Minaj texting asking for a feature from SZA, to which SZA declined, which ultimately showed Nicki Minaj to be somewhat of a bitter person. Now, one thing about SZA, not only is she a talented singer, but she has absolutely huge global impact. One of her albums has gone certified diamond, and she is currently on a global arena tour alongside her ex-TDE alum, Kendrick Lamar, bringing in even more sales in tour revenue than Nicki Minaj has ever seen in her entire career. Not only that, but her album, Control and SOS, are some of the biggest albums of any Black star in any genre to date. Her achievements since she debuted in the past 8 years challenges Nicki Minaj's entire career over the past 20 years. And when Nicki Minaj came for SZA, Nicki Minaj found out the global impact of SZA and that SZA definitely has some very strong feeling fans.
SZA's SOS 68 Weeks has spent more time in the top 10 on the Billboard, spent more weeks in the top 10 of the Billboard 200 than all of Nicki Minaj albums combined, which is only 66 weeks. Pop Fusion said, despite being released just 2 years ago, SZA's SOS has now outsold Nicki Minaj's entire 5-album discography in total units and global certifications. It has also outcharted every Nicki Minaj album both in the US and worldwide. This is only a 2-album run. Nicki, you don't have albums like that. Your albums don't hit culturally like SZA's. It just doesn't. Granted, you are a hip-hop artist, so maybe that's why, maybe. But it doesn't hit, girl. Not like how SZA's does. Stop, like it just doesn't. Your career, your impact is fab. You are a legendary act, but SZA is as well, babes. And you have to accept that. You're not going toe-to-toe with just any old little girl. SZA's a big deal. Just as much a big deal as you are. But you're diminishing your legacy, acting crazy and tweeting and not doing anything to capitalize. You have a whole challenge on TikTok right now that's going viral off a 13-year-old song. And you're not doing anything to capitalize off of it. Not even doing the challenge maybe, or you rather sit up here and tweet and get in arguments with other artists than actually be an artist. Oh. Everybody me on the Queen, Nicki Minaj, need to get a style. And then SZA said perfection, and then Nicki said, SZA, thank you so much, mama. I said the same thing about you, about how he did your hair. SZA says, first picture is easily a meme of abundance and blessings, and astrology page needs to grab it immediately. This was her, Nicki, and her fans. It is honestly so sad to see Nicki go down like this, and to say I'm disappointed is an understatement. I'm so disappointed. I'm actually hurt. Because Onika, to see you, to say like, I don't want to diminish women like this, but you diminish women like this, and like you really still, you have no reason but bitter and jealousy. At all.
Oh, it seems like Nicki turned a 2020 feature decline into a full-blown meltdown in 2025. However, taking it personally, spiraling online, and making it a whole-ass conspiracy is lame as fuck and desperate as fuck. She looked like a whole loser. SZA said not to take the bait, but Nicki needed that reason to rant. So here we are. The song technically wasn't about her, but she made it about her, like she always does. And even if it was the title Broken Barbies that did it, it's truly her rage for other female rappers in general. She seen it was a female and she lost it. Like, shut the fuck up already and just rap, Nicki. If you got smoke, put it in a track. Why are you out here fighting with singers who don't rap back? You acting like the McDrizzies. Stop it. Stop it. You had the same energy for Megan on Twitter as well, but never never actually gave her a real diss track either. That trash ass Bigfoot record, that was a joke. You were trying to be like Kanye's Poopity Scoop. However, Kanye produced that track, then took it from Drake. That was his mic drop. He's not a battle rapper. You, however, just gave us a shit record, not even a real shot. And you know how to rap. We've seen it. We've heard it. But instead, you took the clown route because I feel like you was honestly intimidated. You were truly scared to go bar for bar this time around. You didn't like the competition at all. That back and forth could have been legendary though. Bars versus bars, hit for hit. It could have been one of the greatest female rap battles of our generation, but instead of giving the fans that moment, you fumbled it out of pettiness. You had the whole internet watching your powder beat face lose your damn mind over a single Megan's Law bar. And just like the Mazel Tov of rap loves to do, you tried to bait the actual family behind Megan's Law into suing Meg over the lyric. You tried to flip the script and paint Meg as insensitive. We know you're snow sliding, Nicki. How you gonna paint her insensitive and you talking about her dead mama? That's insane. Now you're doing the same shit with SZA, who didn't even come for you for real. Let's keep it lit. She really didn't come for you like that. You're messing up your own legacy over jealousy. You were mad at Beyonce for doing a song with Meg, keep it lit. Mad that Cardi gets to hang out with Beyonce. So now you're mad at Rock Nation. Mad as fuck at JayZ. None of this was a problem for you until your enemies got close to them.
Now, in response to Nicki Minaj body shaming SZA actually responded to this by stating, "I get bullied by millions online every day and then step my ass out on a packed stadium tour where people show me real love in real life." Ultimately refusing to engage with Nicki Minaj and again looking like the bigger person. Now it must be said once again that Nicki Minaj's tweets in relation to TDE and Punch and SZA, many of these tweets again use the hashtag Justice for Demore or Depose Desiree Perez. However, people didn't see this Twitter beef as Nicki Minaj versus The Machine as previously, but rather Nicki Minaj versus her own ego. And since this feud, Nicki Minaj hasn't tweeted much since. Well, until today as I'm recording this. But she definitely in today's tweets has not even gone back and touched the SZA thing. So after all of the drama over the past few weeks, my question is, was Nicki Minaj right? Was she the star who was being blackballed by an industry that was trying to dispose of her? Or was she simply just the villain that she has been perceived to be all of these years?
I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen. I met her in the studio lobby, but her booty looked bigger in the magazines. She said, "Baby, will you jump on this song of mine?" How could I resist when I heard little Nicki rhyme?
Okay, so here is where we get into the conclusion. Is Nicki Minaj right? I think that she has extremely valid points when it comes to how the industry has tried to stop and block her on every front. And I feel like it is a huge testament to the relationship it is that she has created with her fan base, the Barbs, that she has been able to remain as long as she has and has been able to have longevity. Her fan base has like kind of changed over the years. The Barbs classified themselves as like OG Barbs, as in people who were there from the Genesis, from, you know, Itty Bitty Piggy and the mixtapes. And then the new Barbs, which they call the Cupcakes, which are the new Barbs who aren't willing to challenge Nicki Minaj, aren't willing to question Nicki Minaj, and ultimately just want to be involved in the fandom, involved in the stan culture of it all, that they are willing to do, in some cases, some of the most deplorable things ever in order to support their favorite artists. And honestly, the tides have changed. I've seen over the past couple of weeks how many Nicki Minaj fans, people who have openly and publicly supported Nicki Minaj on all fronts, say that she's not the same and something is up. A lot of people are questioning whether it's her mental health that's deteriorating, whether it's all of these financial losses taking a toll on her and her, you know, spiraling because of it, whether it's her husband, whether it's her husband who is, you know, feeding her drugs. Now, this is a huge allegation, and definitely not one that I'm trying to make, but that's definitely been a question that's been swirling around online.
I'm gonna say this because ain't nobody saying that, but something is not right with Nicki Minaj. I'm sorry. I've been watching my good sis on the internet too long for me not to know something is up. Something is not right with my good sis. She ain't never act like this. And I don't know if that man got her doing something strange for a piece of change, but ever since that man showed up, she has been off, and y'all want to keep arguing about who's the queen of rap. That don't matter right now. My good sis is not right in the head, and that's obvious. That's obvious, even based off of how she act on Twitter and all that. That shit not right. Y'all trying to act like she be eating bitches up. No, she's having a manic episode. Y'all need to help her. She needs help. You cannot convince me otherwise, friends. Something is not right with her. Nicki ain't been right since she been with that man, and I'm dying on that hill because my good sis ain't act like this. When she was sitting out there with Meek Mill, she wasn't acting like this. When she was with Safari, she wasn't acting like this. When she got with that man, she started acting like this. That man got that girl doing something strange for a piece of change, and I don't know. Y'all need to get my good sis help. Y'all need to stop worrying about who's the queen of rap and get this girl some help.
But I do think that if we were to look at this in succession, from the very beginning with the Grammys and how she has been blocked from an award that I genuinely believe she rightfully deserves. I don't like that woman, and I'm going to keep it a buck and keep it a bean. I do not like that woman. But I do believe that when it comes to the impact it is that she has had on rap, that cannot be understated or overstated. That cannot be denied. And she definitely deserves a Grammy for the work it is that she has done. But I also feel like she has just besmirched her name. The constant rants and the constant back and forth online and the combativeness. When we think of people who are in that iconic category, if we think of the Beyoncés, the Lady Gagas, the Taylor Swifts, the Ariana Grandes, we really don't see them behaving the way that Nicki Minaj does. And not only has she besmirched her career on that front, I feel like she's besmirched it by her husband. Unfortunately, whatever follows that man is going to follow her. And people are saying that you laid down with a predator knowing his charges and still deciding to support him. And we all know that the legal case that's going on with Jennifer Huff and him is not going to be something that's financed by him, but it's going to be financed by Nicki Minaj, which then in turn shows that not only is she willing to support him in a public-facing way, but she's also willing to support him financially against his victim, or his alleged victim, should I say. And that is something that people also can't move past. This is going to have a trickle-down effect on brands, on endorsements, on invites, on opportunity. And I think she really underestimates how these things can have an effect on her. I genuinely believe that 90% of what is going on with Nicki Minaj and, her legacy, quote unquote, could completely be cleared up if she just left that man alone. But again, that's the man that she quote unquote loves. So if that's the man that you choose, that's the man that you choose. But, these things do have consequences. There are a lot of artists who are iconic in their status, but don't need to cling to the relevancy of the past. Another person that I would think of in this group of iconic who doesn't care about the numbers anymore is somebody like Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga, when we're talking about the Monster album, when we're talking about Born This Way album, and all of the, art pop and all of the amazing numbers it is that she has been able to achieve throughout the years. In recent years, her numbers have not reflected the same numbers it is that she had before, but we don't regard her as any less of an icon. We don't regard her as anything less when it comes to her impact on pop music. Staying on top doesn't always mean staying relevant. Staying on top sometimes means respecting the legacy it is that you have made and the place it is that you have put before everybody else. And I think that Nicki Minaj still wants to be the only girl. I remember there was an interview that Lil' Kim did with The Breakfast Club several years ago when Lil' Kim and Nicki Minaj were having their feud. And Lil' Kim was saying that like Nicki Minaj just wants to be the only girl. It's not necessarily about the lack of respect to me, it's the fact that she doesn't want anybody to be here.
They're not like her. She wanted to be the only female out there. So when Baby and them said, we're not fucking with this chick because you can't stand next to her, she loved it. Because she didn't want to stand next to me. I think it's her. She wanted to be out there by herself.
And as we've seen with my previous video on Nicki Minaj, I'm going to plug it one more time. As we've seen with my previous video on Nicki Minaj, there is a lengthy history of every single girl it is that she has ever become in close proximity to within the rap space. There has always been some kind of problem. There has always been some kind of beef. And this is even now extended to a point that people are being caught in the crossfires like SZA. Like a girl who not only is non-confrontational just simply by her nature, but also a girl who literally doesn't have to compete in the same arena as Nicki Minaj. So it's kind of just sad to see Nicki go out like this. However, what I will say is that when it comes to Nicki Minaj, when she speaks about JayZ, when she speaks about Desiree Perez, when she speaks about the ongoing lawsuits, when she speaks about Rock Nation and what it is that she is owed, I can't talk about what it is that she's owed. Only she and Rock Nation know that figure. But what I will say is I 100% believe Nicki Minaj when she speaks about the underhanded and dirty business practices that have taken place in that area. I do believe her on her allegations on that front, because I genuinely have a rule of thumb that nobody becomes a billionaire, and JayZ's a billionaire. I think he's the biggest billionaire in rap at present moment. But JayZ is a billionaire, and I don't believe that anybody gets to billionaire status without undercutting people of what it is that they deserve and what it is that they are supposed to get. And ultimately what it is that they're owed. And I honestly believe, as the liberal fuck that I am, that there is no way to be an ethical billionaire. So it doesn't surprise me that there are underhanded tactics that could possibly be at play. But again, just like everybody else has echoed online, instead of going online and talking shit, make a lawsuit. Produce your claims in front of a judge and jury and demand what it is that you are owed. Because Nicki Minaj is right. When it came to Tidal, nobody promoted it more than Nicki Minaj and Beyonce. They were like the front runners of it. And as soon as Nicki Minaj wasn't beneficial to Tidal, as soon as Nicki Minaj wasn't beneficial to Rock Nation, as soon as Nicki Minaj became quote unquote unmanageable, she was discarded and she was disposed of. And I think that this has a lot to do with the resounding bitterness that Nicki Minaj has, because she believes that people have tried her entire career not only to ruin her legacy, but to deny her global impact and to replace her. So ultimately, I am saying all of this to say, Nicki Minaj is going crazy online. She's acting nuts. She sounds delusional, but she can also be right and wrong. She can also be the right message, but the complete wrong messenger. Anyway, that is about it from me. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video. Oh my god, it's taken me so long to put this video together because she's not stopped. So every day I'm having to like write something new and develop the story a little bit further. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I do have another video that my researcher has put together. This one was done entirely by myself, by the way. But I have got another story that my researcher has put together. It's kind of an old story, but I'm probably still going to put it out anyway because I'm so far behind on content over here. So definitely take a look for that. Also, make sure that you guys subscribe to Patreon. If you are on Patreon, you will have had this video a little bit earlier than everybody else. So if you guys want to get that exclusive content, definitely make sure to check out there. Also, make sure that you check out my podcast. I do have a podcast on the second channel. It is called The Paige Christie Show. We are now back to producing content at a regular rapid pace. Just to give you the TLDR, I fell off a little bit with life. There's a lot of life stuff that took place and I had to focus on that, but I am back now, bitches. So expect me regularly the way that we were before, once a motherfucking week. And with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing day or evening, whatever the hell it is you're doing. Until next time, you beautiful, amazing, badass bitches. It's been Paige. Bye.